I'm not going to talk about it now.
Really, can we say that publicly?
We can say it publicly. Of course we can.
I'm not going to.
Well, I thought you
I'm
just
not
did.
going to risk it.
Yeah, I don't want to get
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We were just talking about Red Cat Holdings and their acquisition of Teal Drones. Chad said he just might pop in, but he might be a bit too busy. If you haven't seen it, they have bought Teal Drones, one of the Blue SUAS makers. What I don't know. Chad also has put out a video. I should have had a link ready. You know, I'm never ready with these things, but he's put out a video talking about the acquisition, what went down, and it's a new channel that promises to tell us all about how Red Cat Holdings progress and move along. So you might want to have a look at that, and if you're cleverer than me, you'll find the link. Maybe you know Chad Clapper, you'll be able to find it quite easily. Yeah, buying a Blue SUAS evening permanent pilot, buying a Blue SUAS company. Is that a good idea?
I think, we've had the term, we've discussed it a few times that's the license to print money, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? The Magic 5. Yet the Magic 5 really is about the Magic 1.5 to 2, because they're the only ones that's really delivered anything. Now, it remains to be seen how valuable the drone industry is for commercial and enterprise. It is that £30,000 toilet seat territory, isn't it? We're going to sell you something which we can, you buy it. If you buy the consumer version, it would be $1,000. We're going to charge you 30 because we can. It's just like it's anything made for a boat. If the second is made for a boat, it costs 10 times the amount. That's just how it works. Now, but it remains to be seen, is this really an industry? Is governmental contracts really an industry in itself? Because it needs to be for it to survive. Because if you're going to build a business off that, it seems an odd one to me.
The people that made it big in our world, really, AeroVironment and Dr. Paul McCready, who did some astounding things, some absolutely astounding things, and came from the world of model aviation. He was a champion AMA free flight pilot right from when he was a nipper, and maintained his membership of that all the way.
How can you be a pilot of a free flight model?
Well, you know what I mean. Whatever, you know what I mean. Yes, okay. Fair point. Let me poke you with a stick. Yeah, no, but he knew his stuff, but they won in the big military market because of the two big Sandy wars that happened, and they just happened to have a product on the shelf that the US Army ripped their arm off to get hold of. And that, to my knowledge, is the only, okay, we can say Predators and Reapers, but that's been the only really big military contractor that there's been in the last 30 years, is especially the small stuff.
What about in Israel? Isn't Israel littered with drone companies that make a fortune out of the military?
But they do, but they don't. Yeah, I suppose it, again, as Ian says, it's a $30,000 toilet seat, isn't it? As long as you're getting that price, you'll be all right. But if you're not getting that price, you'll never compete with cot stuff.
Do you know what the interesting thing is? I'm just watching the video now where they're showing you this, and this is the first time I've actually seen the Teal properly. This is a Mavic. I'm sorry, but when you look at the product, it doesn't look. What is it that everything else isn't, other than made in the USA? Let's ignore the made in the USA element a minute, because that's just a manufacturing thing.
From memory, I think it's got a little bit of some smarts in there. It's running a little bit of artificial intelligence, not quite as much as a Skydio, but it's got some smarts in there. It's got arms that snap in and out and all that sort of a good thing.
That's design. That's not. It looks like another plastic drone. Do you know what I mean? I've just looked at it and I've just gone, okay, so, when we've seen all these images and all of this stuff with all of these Blue UAS providers, this isn't specifically to Teal that, they're in the desert, they're here. But when you do just get up and close and look at these things, it's just another flying plastic drone. That's all it is.
Yeah, but then all of them are just, 2 sticks and 4 motors and some speed controllers. No matter what it is, just two bits of wood and some speed controllers will do it.
I think what you mean, it's another pervy killing machine.
Well, yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes,
we know the secret about drones.
Yeah.
The thing is, the drone isn't important to you. At the end of the day, what they're buying a drone is irrelevant. At the end of the day, the drone itself is irrelevant. It's the software and the services behind it. It's they don't want to. They'll sell you the drone. They want to sell you the £500,000 contract to service it every 3 months or whatever it is. It's an interesting acquisition for Red Cat. I don't think there's anything bad in it for them. I find it interesting that Teal have sold out or merged, whatever we want to call this. At the moment there is only one successful blue UAS provider. Really? Parrot? Two?
Skydio?
But
we don't know how many units Skydio have actually shipped. That's the only thing.
How many has more than 10 of them actually left the building? Maybe 100?
I think more than 10. I think 250 is what I've been told have left the building, because that was what was required for the contract. But they'd be probably your hand-built bespoke ones that you made in your shed to get that contract done.
Yeah. And
there's a difference between that and rolling 100,000 off the line, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I'm making that up. I am making that up, Divya. Yeah. That's what I.
But it is interesting, isn't it? How big is this market expected to be? How big is this enterprise government market? This isn't. Most businesses can use off-the-shelf Chinese products without a problem. Not on governmental land in the US, but most businesses. So this is a niche world, and this is where the problem is going to arise for these companies: is how do they cross over into the mainstream? Yes, they'll make plenty of money off government contracts for a period, but that cash cow won't last forever. At the end of the day, how useful will drones really be in the end?
It's kind of a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche, isn't it?
And you've also got to look at the fact that you can buy a mil-spec drone for $15,000, $20,000, or you can buy 20 consumer-grade drones for the same money, and you can lose half of them and still be ahead.
Yeah, and that's going to be the problem for the average, say, commercial or industrial operator. But the army, and it's an interesting market. It's an interesting market, which it almost looks like we're already seeing contracting before it even started. Because we've already seen companies pulling out. Yeah.
In decline, as he says. He's there. Why didn't we think of that before? He's been thinking about this before we started. I am. No, it is interesting, and if it's such an advantage now, Snapshot Drone says government contracts, a gift that keeps on giving. They are, to a certain degree, a license to print money, and hello, Wolf, and very much the AeroVironment stuff has, because they have contracts that last forever. It's just and supply 50 of these every month for the next 1 million years, please, and that's what they've been doing.
See, the thing is, we're not seeing drones really making a benefit outside of the consumer and commercial space still. When we're still not seeing
that's only because we don't have enough regulation yet.
Yes, that's probably it. Yeah, that is probably it. Well, all right. I think we sort of addressed that one a little bit. It's very interesting. Hopefully, Chad will come on and talk to us. The question I've got from, if you're watching, Chad, my question to you is, why have you gone that space rather than the delivery space? I would have thought the delivery space would be perhaps
we all know the delivery space is a very, very small space with only niche applications. It's never going to be the pizzas and the fish and chips from down the road.
Yeah, but I bet there's more niches in that space than there are in the military space.
But it's also far more competitive. The barriers to entry are much lower.
That's true. Yes, that's true.
What is interesting with Red Cat is they are building some interesting hardware, software portfolios. If we sit here as a company, so they own Fat Shark. Okay, we can argue all day long what Fat Shark actually is as a company, in the sense of, is there any IP there? It's Fat Shark is a company that makes goggles. They make some good ones, they make some bad ones, they make some interesting products, but there's not a lot of IP there from the look of it. It's just a product that's assembled from parts, and as we know, many others do it. Sky Zone. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing particularly unique there, but they do have that in the belt under their belt. They've now got this. They've obviously got Rotor Riot. It's an interesting portfolio, isn't it?
Yeah, and don't underestimate the importance of synergy. Like you go to Walmart or you go to whatever because they've got everything, right? So that's the place you go. You wouldn't go there just if they only sold, T-shirts. So you get a place that has everything can offer a lot more in terms of packaging and providing a solution rather than just providing an element of a solution. And I think that's where they're looking. That the future, the companies that will succeed are the ones that can roll up and do a complete delivery of everything you need for your application. Whereas if you're only involved in one part of the whole industry, you're at a disadvantage. So that's maybe where they're looking at.
But there's a mix, though, isn't it? We've got very consumer. Rotor Riot is very consumer. That's almost pop culture. It's YouTube. It's that. You've then got Fat Shark, which is a hardware manufacturer, a designer, a company that builds physical things. And now they're moving into this very industrial space. This isn't even anything to do with normal drone industry, is it?
But don't forget Skypersonic, the people that do the networking and stuff and control over a great deal of distance and potentially swarming and things like that. So they do have, definitely very interesting elements around and about. And now we've said it aloud, or you've listed it. No delivery elements. So that is interesting. I mean, maybe they'll say it'll never happen.
They'll just use Amazon like everybody else.
They'll just that could in fact be what they do. Now, I should have started, but we were already chatting, so I started the way in which we did start by saying, when does your medal arrive, Ian?
No medals. When does the horse's head arrive? Probably.
You have highlighted and got DJI to move yet again and fix something. You're not allowed to do that. Is it not fixed yet? Oh, I don't know.
Not yet.
Explain it. First of all, explain it.
Okay, there will be a fix.
That's where we are.
Look, it's not me. At the end of the day, this is the community. We wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have the people helping us do it, in the sense of, I can say whatever I want. They're not going to listen to me alone. It takes having a community of people behind you to be able to do it. I don't have, I'm just an idiot. If I say don't buy something, no one listens really. But what we managed to do the first time round was get enough people behind it that they couldn't ignore it. And to be fair to them, I probably hit the press department and it got the right people noticing, and they reached out. They were very good. It all sorted. And unfortunately, with that problem got fixed, a new one arose. And there's still a lot I don't fully understand about this new one, because this firmware's been out nearly a month and a half. And there were no reports on this at the start. And then I started noticing about 3 weeks ago some very similar reports of issues. And then a couple more people sort of messaged me, and then Blunty messaged me, who goes on JB's channel, and said, I've seen you post on this. I'm seeing more and more people. And it sort of built into, this is a real thing now. I still don't understand why it took nearly a month. The only thing I can
just explain what is the thing for those of us.
The thing is that the goggles would reboot in flight, only in FPV mode. So the goggles users would be flying them. They would generally get a random black screen, and they'd hear the goggles power and reset. Now, I have a slightly different opinion on this to Bruce, because Bruce ripped me apart on it on Sunday. And my opinion is, yes, it's not good, but there is a way around it, which is to downgrade the firmware. So this is why I've not been screaming, don't use these, because I've said downgrade. I also think you should always have a fail-safe, because I always fly in the position of FPV anything could go wrong. Do you know what I mean? The camera could stop working. I always have it in my mind that you should always have a get out of jail plan. Now, that isn't really the world of FPV. The get out of jail plan of FPV is it's hit the deck and it's on fire, or we got to go.
See, I always fly with my goggles on my forehead so I can see the FPV model. That's the best way.
Yeah. But so anyway, it was rebooting in flight, and people have lost aircraft. People have crashed. So it was getting more and more serious and in fact, the last 3 or 4 days, there's been more and more reports of problems. So I managed to get some info into them. I asked the community for logs, because I still haven't been able to have it happen myself. That's just the way it is sometimes. And I put them in some good people's hands, the same people I dealt with last time. And I was told today, they reached out to me to say it's found, it's fixed. It was the logs were instrumental. So thanking everyone who sent me logs. We wouldn't have been able to do it without your logs. They weren't mine. I was just the messenger in this situation. But we've got it fixed. And I believe the firmware should be in the next 5 or 10 days. Last time they told me 5 days and it took 2.5 weeks. So I'll say in the next few weeks.
And it's not because they tested it rigorously during that period, obviously.
It's a tough one because, for the people who don't know, I used to be involved in testing this stuff with them, and they don't have us anymore. Those of us who did that. There used to be a community. It wasn't me alone. There were people on RC groups. We used to get involved, and that's why I do have some of the contacts there, because I knew people, I was involved, but they just don't do that anymore. But yes, so we've got it fixed. Hopefully this is the last big issue. What we want now is stability, because the main product has been solid from day one. To be fair to it, the version 1 has been solid. There's still a lot of problems people complaining about, like the switching between modes. I don't see that being fixed, but you never know. And the slow SD card error, people keep bringing up about that problem. Again, I think it's not as common as people think, and a lot of it is down to fake SD cards and stuff like that, because there's loads of fake SD cards and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but hopefully, if this is nailed, it fixes that fundamental issue.
I got to wonder though. Wonder if this, like, since the FPV product is sort of was launched, it's sold well and it's matured. I wonder if there's just one guy sitting in the corner with a pile of donuts who's responsible for maintaining this thing, and he gets the I've got to do that. I'll have my donuts first. I wonder how much resource they have dedicated to the FPV system as such now. I suspect it's probably very small,
if any. I'll go.
You two have probably got the majority of the fleet still flying though.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the. I think from past experience, and I can't comment on today, but from past experience, when I have been involved, because I have done the beta programs, all of the resources go in on launch, up to launch, and about 1 to 3 months after that point. Usually 1 month is the real focus, then it goes down and down. And then after 3 to 6, close to 0, unless it gets moved around the office. The feeling I always get was it sort of then gets moved around the office. And then, take the Inspire 2 update. I beta tested that a year before it was released, to give you an idea. That was kicked around the offices for 12 months. We tested it and then it vanished. And nothing more come of it. And then like a year later, it appeared. And that was the last update they released. And they reached out to me like a year later and said, we're going to release this update now in a couple of weeks. Can you just do some more tests? So what happened there? Who rolled something over the table and just, bugger. I found an update for an Inspire.
What's this under here? What's this in here? Yeah. What's this in this box? Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of this stuff stemmed from the corruption. A lot that my understanding is they are a very, very, very different company now than they were before that whole corruption stuff. That's public knowledge. A lot of people are not there today, and my feeling is they've completely reorganized and they've lost touch with some of the things that helped them in the past. I'm not saying me alone, but many of us who used to be willing to risk our gear just to check something was okay, and I've bricked hardware.
Well, what was still you've wrecked hardware? No, surely not. Never.
USB ports, flat flex cables, lipos. He's done the work. He's done the lot.
There goes the road back.
Yeah. Early testing can be very dodgy ground. Do you know what I mean? It really can.
Yeah. So, whilst we're talking DJI, version 3 is there anything? Add number 3 to anything?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think the next product releases we'll probably see will be ground based.
Another rover?
No,
or another camera.
Cameras. I think that Osmo is getting on. I think the Ronin series is. I know the guy behind Ronin Paul Pan. He's a lovely guy and he's always up to something. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw something from that side of the business.
The DJI pneumatic hammer. It's groundbreaking.
He's on form.
But we got something
Daytime
done.
for him, and that's what it is. It's daytime.
Something is interesting is someone made a comment tonight, and I haven't noticed this, and I need to have a look around. But one of the guys who runs one of the alternative Facebook groups just put a comment on the post I put up, just saying thank you for trying to get involved. But made an interesting comment that a lot of the people who used to do stuff on this have all backed out since the affiliate scheme has gone.
Yes,
and I do find that interesting.
Yes.
Now, it wouldn't affect Bruce because
you can't buy loyalty.
You can't. But if you do look, there's a lot of people are no longer posting anything on these products at all.
That's an interesting. A no-fly zone along the whole German border. Have you not got an ADIS, an air defense identification zone? That's what most countries have.
Is it because a drug drone crashed here? Oh, okay. So are they going to sew up everybody's backsides along the same area?
That's. I would have thought I'd have to get out my air law books, but I would have thought there would already be a bit of legislation in place that they could have coerced to use for that. Wow, 10 kilos in size. It's a small one these days, isn't it? Really. Yeah. I will have to read up and find out about that. So the DJI things, we think.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks for this update. We'll then find out what else they've broke. And someone did put a comment on if they fixed that. What else have they broke? But yeah, I'm not going to say they haven't. I've been there before. I've not been sent this to test, so I can't comment on this one. So yeah, anything is possible. I think if we get this fixed, I think hopefully this will be the last of the big issues, and then it's wait and see. You know, we still got shark bite, which we were talking about thing earlier. I've had a bit of I put up my rant last night on that. I put that out as a separate video because there's a lot of there's been a lot of hoo-ha over this DJI versus shark bite. Yeah, we've got the closed proprietary system with more third-party compatibility than allegedly the open source, which isn't open. But and it'd be nice if Fat Shark actually replied to my emails, but. That's
Chad again. Chad, if you are lurking, you need to come and talk to us about that as well. Then,
interesting thing on Wolf's comment there. Again, it's these fixed wing flyers ruining it for quadcopter operators.
I did see a little accident somewhere down in New Zealand Shire of somebody putting some sort of foam thing straight into someone's garden. I saw that in the week. Crossing the border, Jimmy Jones' car. But what you get for crossing the border with drugs in your car? Is that what you get now?
Bag full of money.
Bag full of money. Indeed. Yeah. So what else have we seen this week? So there's we've seen that. There's been yet more delivery stuff. Parrot came up with a video about their bridge inspection, which looked very, very like the video that Skydio did about their bridge inspection. So it's bridge inspection wars time, people.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously critical infrastructure is the thing. And of course, the company that won't be able to put that video up is DJI because they're not allowed near that critical infrastructure. So I guess all the others are only ever going to be showing us bridges, railways, and roads now.
I was expecting to get an improvised explosive device from Parrot this week after my video. I did a boom, like in so.
Did you see his daughter's got COVID, so she's not going to Cannes? But anyway, that's another thing altogether.
Autel have taken on another gentleman this week. Who they announced yesterday? I didn't recognize him actually.
No, I didn't either. I meant to put it up today, but we've been rather busy over here. I've forgotten his name. I'm trying to see if I put it anyway. Yeah, but they are building their team, aren't they? They're building their team fast.
And there's been more people behind the scenes as well. I'm not going to name any names, but there is more I do know of behind the scenes, and they're good people, highly, highly experienced people. So they've got a war chest now. The people and experience. Now the question is, and this is where it gets interesting: is can Autel China deliver? Because we need to always remember they're a Chinese company. And what let the big 3-letter word company down was the fact they weren't willing to hand over control. They were unwilling to let the US do its own thing. If they had let the US do its own thing and given them manufacturing, they would have owned the enterprise industry in the US, but they chose not to. So will Autel?
I get the sort of feeling that we're building up to that. We're building up to an announcement will say, and now here's Autel America, and here's the factory. It has that feeling that we're winding up to that.
If they've got any sense, they will build a drone in the US with entirely open source software and stop monkeying around trying to keep stuff behind closed doors and just go, here it is. Just like Parrot have done. Look what Parrot have done with this drone. They've just got to replicate that.
They will assemble a drone. I don't think they'll build one. They're not going to get they're not going to make their own neodymium magnets and all that. They're going to have it assembled in the USA from globally sourced components.
Oh, I didn't know that's what kayakers did. Are they? Since they're the ones who seem to find all the broken I-beams and our bridges. Oh, yeah. I'd never thought, never considered before.
So did they keep missing that one in the US then? If you saw that one in that state, did you see that I-beam that had a massive crack down it? And that was missed. Yeah.
So the kayakers see the low beams and the drones see the I-beams.
Yes, indeed. I'll
very
get Scotland before you. Very useful.
So this reminds me so much of the late 1990s and the internet. Everyone was being there. Everyone was pouring money, and it was going to be so big, and it was going to be, profit. No, we don't need profit. We just need 3D renderings and promises of the future, and it's all going to be great. And then it was great eventually, but it was like 15 years later before it really was what was promised all those years earlier. People are coming in, rushing in.
I disagree. I think we've gone past that point. I think we've gone past the ultimate BS point, and I think we're at a little bit of the trough of disillusionment or whatever it is in that line. I think we might be. I personally think we might be moving towards a time of more honesty. Goodness me.
We've seen it also with networking. Remember, computer networking was going to be the year of the LAN, and it never was the year of the LAN. It just eventually we all use networks now. But it's like, the drone delivery, we're going to drone deliveries. Yeah, in 20 years' time, that may be a commonplace thing. But by that time, we'll all be dead and buried, and the people will have already taken their money up and put it in something else,
Yeah, Captain Positive here. You're probably
Hey, Gary,
wrong.
Have you looked outside your window recently?
Don't. It's if any of you are in South Africa, I hope you're safe and well, and your local community is defending you as best you can. The army was said to arrive yesterday, and they went to Pietermaritzburg, the capital city, and then so in our first lockdown, pull up a sandbag, everyone. In our first lockdown, 70,000 troops were deployed along the coast to keep people off the beach. Keep people out of the post office, keep people out of queues, whatever. First lockdown, COVID. Now we've had mass looting up and down. 23 trucks were burnt on the first night within sight of my house here because there's a critical choke point and loads of stuff has happened. There's mass looting. People are just breaking into big supermarkets and taking everything. It's going nuts. We had a weekend of it. So yesterday he said, well, we're going to call it. Okay, the army's coming now. After first of all saying we don't need the army. I'm ranting on a bit, aren't I? But so then it comes out 2,500 troops have been deployed around the entire country. That's not even... and yet we had 70,000 on the beaches. On the beaches! I've heard that before.
So you're telling me that there are people wandering around with medieval stringed instruments playing concerts at random?
Yes, very much.
Okay. The looting is
terrible. Looting, lots of looting. Lots of medieval instrumentalists everywhere. It's a reenactment pageant gone nuts, I tell you. Nuts. They're everywhere. Yeah, I know. It's just pure and utter crime. About a week, I think it was last week, Jacob Zuma, our former president, was jailed for contempt of court, and it was seen as a great act for democracy in South Africa, because if he fell, no one was above the law. Funny old thing, no one's above the law.
Come to New Zealand, where the only looting is done by the government.
But you were involved with your government recently, weren't you? You were filming again in the council offices, weren't you? What was the outcome?
Yes, local. That was wonderful. Big arguments, fights, and it was like little children in a playground. It's fantastic fun. I put the video up, but it's unlisted. But even though it's had 100 and something views, because all the people who need to see it have seen it. It's going to go further. There's all sorts of criminal charges pending. Oh, it's great. It's fantastic watching children at play.
Yeah, it's yeah. So here has been very, very interesting. In a town, one shouldn't laugh about this because so again we went into a higher lockdown restrictions because COVID was going up a little bit. So we've had no alcohol again. So the first thing to get looted was all the bottle stores. And in a town about 50 k's that way, 2 people died under the weight of crates of beer that fell of them in the storeroom that they got into. So,
what a way to go.
What a way to go. Indeed. Any Gatwick news and updates? Well, now then. Ian got the report out of the police. Very, very, very redacted. And the thing that really stood out in the report for me was they were moaning about the catering. That's what really. It's like, oh yeah, okay. But
was it catering in terms of scones and tea, or was it catering in terms of providing for?
I don't know what. It was sandwiches, wasn't it? So it showed, and there was lots of patting on the back and didn't we do well and all that sort of thing, and lots of redacted stuff. But that report has caused further interest from other media, proper grown-up media houses, and hopefully some movement can be made on uncovering that a little bit more. It's plainly a whole load of tosh. We all know that. Everyone knows that. It's still being cited and causing problems around the world.
Everyone except the New Zealand Ministry of Transport, who put it front and centre on their justification for harsher and tougher rules for drones.
As did the people at Cranfield when they were talking to Wing and saying, well, just look at Gatwick. And then as did the people that run the delivery services in Scotland and a few other places, but don't seem to have any actual real business. They're also put it front and centre every time. It's got to be resolved for the industry.
Pornhub, Ian.
Yeah, Pornhub. It is. Yeah. OnlyFans.
Definitely need OnlyFans. Funny, Bruce, you're on about the decline. I was just looking now. I haven't seen Pavel's video yet. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but it's funny you were just saying, is FPV over? I've been thinking about this in the last few days, and I've been looking at some numbers of views on some of the bigger YouTube channels, and things are definitely down.
What, you're talking about the YouTuber sphere, and that's Devon or Cornwall? That's the argument. Devon or Cornwall. It's a code. If you know the code, you know what I'm talking about. It's over. It's because the hype's over. It's gone. It's over. We're back to being Bruce's model aircraft channel. That's what we're going back to there. That's how it's going to be. How it always was. Back to Bruce and only Bruce.
That's why I'm pivoting to beauty vlogs and entertainment news.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
what did he say in this video then, Bruce? Because you've watched it, haven't you?
Yeah. Basically, he analysed a number of channels: Curry Kitten, Painless 360, UAV Futures, Cal Grammar, and a few of those, and looked at the trend over 12 months, and it's in decline. It's going down. But as I said in my video, it's not necessarily because we're affected uniquely, but the whole YouTube landscape is in a bit of a decline unless you're doing this stuff. And YouTube is pushing the stuff, the cheap stuff. If you look at the number of channels now that focus solely on entertainment news, who's done this and what gossip, it's like tabloid stuff, and they're getting pushed really, really hard because they're getting hundreds of thousands of views per video because more people are interested in that stuff. So if YouTube uses some of that valuable front page space to push a video that appeals to 30% of the audience, they get much bigger return on that space than if they push something promoting a hobby, which is like 2% of the world. So YouTube is just chasing the dollars, and because we are not chasing the dollars, we're not a good fit in the YouTube ecosystem, and a lot of other hobbies are the same.
Do you not think that there's probably as well too many good channels now, in the sense of, if you go back, there was yourself, and I'm not classing myself in this by any means.
That's how he got his subscribers, wasn't it? There was only one.
But no, if you go back, you had Bruce, JB's been around a long time, and you have had...
You only had Bruce. There was only Bruce.
Bruce in the old days, but I mean, as FPV came up, but now you have got Gal, you've got Pavel, you've got a lot of good content, and the problem is you can only watch so much. I know YouTube is really good at not showing you what you want to see as well. And frankly, it annoys me. For instance, it hardly ever shows me Dave's stuff on the EEV blog. I'm fully subbed I'm fully belled, yet his
Mm.
stuff never pops up on my stream. And I know there'll be a video there because Dave is, like clockwork. There's always something generally going out, but YouTube is really good at hiding stuff from you as well.
I think one of the reasons Dave's stuff doesn't get pushed, and I know my stuff doesn't get pushed, is because we're not running mid-rolls, and YouTube wants the money, and if you're not running mid-rolls, you're not getting quite the same amount of push. I'm fortunate that my subscribers, like the video I posted yesterday, it said I've got something like 72% more interest from subscribers and things like that. So I try and appeal to my subscribers rather than chasing the bigger market. And my subscribers are fairly loyal, but I would hate to be trying to launch a channel on this topic today because you just couldn't gain any traction at all.
Ian's camera is always that. I think that's probably a very expensive effect.
This is a webcam.
Not Vaseline on the lens or anything like that. Oh no, here we go. Oh dear. You've poked the bear now, Wolf.
Yeah, switching to the new Lumix S5 now.
No, I'm not. I'm just wiping the lens.
That's
even worse.
There we go.
Oh, look at
got a lovely lens. Or is it a cobweb?
Look at that as well.
It's a laser beam. Look at that. Fantastic. Yeah. Special effects.
Special effects as well.
Let me with it.
Oh, no.
What have you done? I'm blind.
There you go.
Oh, my word. It's like being
That's what happens when you complain.
Now.
That's what happens when you complain.
It's actually, yeah.
What a waste of Vaseline that was.
This is a product placement for Zeiss lens cleaner. There you go. If you need to clean your camera, get some Zeiss lens.
I did see you put another chair video up. I did see that.
An utter shilling. And Bruce called me out instantly. Bruce's first comment was, I refuse to participate in this blatant shilling.
There'll be a chair then.
I haven't decided. I'm really tempted to order another one and review it because it will pay for itself. So I'm not worried.
It's valuable that you just really be good for society.
Don't be so sure though.
Thing.
A lot of people have had viral hit videos and done really well, and they've produced a follow-up and it's completely flopped.
I've done okay out of those ones. I've not really made money, but I've not lost money. So I'll still make money. I'll set one on fire if I have to. That'll get the views.
Here it wouldn't, because it would be very, very run-of-the-mill and
same.
whatever.
Sorry, something's on fire.
Very, 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 yeah. Again, back to my hard luck story. So in cities, they're looting and all that. Troubles in the countryside here, they're setting fire to the forestry, and that is a worry.
Is it a bit like the scene from Bottom where they're sitting out the windows, Gary, watching the annual parade, isn't it? Do you remember the Bottom? Richard, they're standing out the window and watching London burn.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Search on Moy River. That's M-O-O-I and River. That's near where I am. You'll see what happened there, and then just have a look at pick any city in South Africa, and you'll find looting videos. Bruce's. I got chairs like that. Yes, it's exactly what my chair review would be like.
The thing is, I gave a genuine review about the chair.
Affiliate link in the description.
I did, but it was a genuine review. I said, this is all of the problems with this, and if you still want to buy one, there's a link. But that's fair. That is fair way of doing it. If you're going to be honest, and I was one of the only people honest about this product. Why? Because I spent my own money.
I'll do it. Hi there, Dan. I wonder what Dan thinks of, because Dan's very much into his blue SUS and all that sort of thing. Wonder what he thinks of Red Cat taking over. It's going to be, yeah.
But here's a question for the panel. What's going to be the next big thing? We had DJI Digital, we had FPV, then we had digital and stuff. What's the next big thing? Is it legalized BV loss? What do you think it'll be that'll get more people into the whole thing and see a big resurgence in activity and interest?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you say we've had digital. The digital revolution has now come. We've had it in the radios. And then like 10 years later, it came in the 20 years later, it came in the when do we go digital on radios, Bruce? I'm trying to remember. It's probably 20.
A wee whiles ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But 2.4 gigs was the big transition, which was about the 2005 or something like that, and maybe 2007 or 8. That was a really big, because then you could all fly without the little pegs on your radio and without shooting down the guy next to you.
Yeah,
that took the fun out of it, didn't it? Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just out and go, "Can we borrow that?"
Yeah, but then it also took away another excuse, because now you're going to go brown out, and then you could have gone, oh, same frequency, same flag. I can't remember what I used to shout, but that's what people.
Sudden gust of gravity. That's it.
Sudden gust of gravity.
It's funny because there's a lot of talk around more digital systems. You know, there's a rumor that FR Sky are working on one, but I'm not convinced on that. I think it's nonsense. You've got Orca, so the digital revolution is here in drones. I think we've hit iPhone 5.
Will it be 4G, 5G as the C2 link, and enabling you to fly wherever you want to go, and ensuring that the telcos get their monthly stipend from you for the data?
I think regulation will stomp all over that. I think, because the thing is, with 2.4 and 5 gigs, they were license-free open bands already, which were allowed to be used. So frankly, the government couldn't do anything about it. Any of the governments couldn't do anything about it. It was there for this use. However, 5G is a major, major step that they're going to have to authorize.
That Dan's got an interesting one. I'm not sure that would ever get small enough. Did you see that guy driving with one on the hood of his car? Yeah. But even without that, on the aircraft, even in remote places like I might be in Africa, having one of those end to end of your delivery run, because you know how much I love delivery runs, or wherever, and then some sort of mesh network in between would suddenly make a huge difference. Drone gardening tools.
Brandon's right. Mine regularly digs holes in my garden when I'm flying outside.
Yeah, we've definitely reached a plateau, which is great.
It is. Technology can do, we can do whatever we want from a technology point of view now. It's just cost and, infrastructure.
And one of the other big things was when China got involved and started making all these cheap foamies, and you didn't have to build models. You go and buy a foamy and bind it to your transmitter and fly. That was another big boost to the hobby because it got a lot of more people involved. And we're running out of things to boost it with. I mean, I'm at a loss to think what could renew this cycle. I can't think of anything.
Well, flight controllers are as good as they're going to get now, aren't they? Let's be realistic.
That's also only incremental now, isn't it?
Don't tell Cube that.
Yeah, but we're not making big leaps.
From the big leaps are gone. You're now talking, and even it's a race to the bottom. You've got the Chinese manufacturers banging out race controllers for $20, $25. It's insane. You can't even buy the CPU on it for that cost at the moment. Yet you can buy the controllers. So from sort of an FPV point of view, we've almost plateaued. FPV's plateaued really quickly. Now it's caught up. Sort of, we've got digital, we've got decent cameras. Yeah, where does the whole industry go next? Camera drones are just over. They're all.
My real fear is that we may not see the resurgence we've seen in the past because we're going to be stifled by the regulation. The whole regulatory landscape is just so totally different to what it was 10 years ago that I can't see, even if we did have another big thing, there's too much regulation in the way to let it really take root.
Well, dare I say peanut scale indoors.
You could look.
Yeah, but for how long?
Not long.
There's another Mavic or two. There's another Phantom or two. There's another Inspire or two in the pot. Do you know what I mean? People will do it because there's still more tech to move forward. But that's all there is, isn't it? After that, you think they're going to get smaller and lighter. Well, they've got very small. We've got a Mavic Mini 2, which can fly, what's it, like 20 odd minutes, 30 minutes? It's bonkers.
Yeah, and that was saying sort of the weight thing was under 250 grams. That'll be fine. Don't have to register. But then they come up with the excuse, it's got a camera. You still got to register. They'll always find a reason to put their fork in the wheels and mess things up. And because I'd like to see, if we want to retain the hobby, if the hobby is going to thrive and be what it was, we must have a cutoff point where none of these regulations apply anymore. No registration, no tests. It becomes just those two rules: don't endanger people or property like it is in Canada, and go for it. And then we can use our creativity. We can get kids involved. We can do whatever we want to do because it's totally safe without police and Karens getting involved and trying to ruin our day. That's the only way the hobby will move forward. If we have that regulatory-free threshold under which we can operate without all the hassles that are currently involved in the hobby. Because look at the comments on the video I put up yesterday. People saying, yeah, I've hung up my models. I've got out of it. It's just too hard. I don't want to risk getting in trouble with the police and things. It is driving people from the hobby, and we don't have anywhere to go from a regulatory perspective.
Thanks, Dennis, and Doverans. I can't get your name right, but they're already companion computers are already there for image processing. That's already a thing that will get better and better. But it is very much already a thing. And Brandon's blowing the leaves off. He's got a great Y6, which isn't as popular as they used to be. He's got a great Y6 that he's building. So if you look about, find him on LinkedIn, you'll find that there. Convergence between GA and RPAS, the RPAS will get bigger. Yeah, Dan's right. I think if we want to go up into that sort of thing, I think we'll be seeing stuff carrying 100 kilos, 150 kilos around.
I think a lot of international cargo flights will be pilot free.
Yeah. Well, they were going to. I don't think it's going to happen now because you're not best of friends anymore. But China and Australia were going to try and run a couple of 747s from very remote place to very remote place, and just press a button and let them go, and would have made a lot of sense.
Because a surprising number of cargo planes crash and kill the pilots.
I noticed that. Yeah, it happens. I think from a consumer drone, I think there's a bit more in the pot. If we look at, there's a bit more camera drone users would like. I think camera drones are still GoPro territory for the most part. If we look at the bit rates, the camera quality, so there's a bit of room in, say, a slightly fatter Mavic with 400 megs bit rate, or even something like ProRes RAW for the guys who really want to get the best. But that's really 1-inch camera is good enough.
It's a small market though, isn't it? Because the average user is more than happy with what they get out of their drone. I mean, and that very small market makes it difficult to produce a sophisticated high-tech product at reasonable prices, because you just cannot amortize the development and production costs over a sufficiently large number of people.
Yeah, I suppose we'd be hoping for cell phone sensors to get up to the place fast enough to fit that slot, rather than going from point and shoot.
Well, did you see that the cell phone drone, the one that slips inside that from Vivo? Isn't that
the
fantastic?
one with four
props that all spin the same direction?
All spin the same direction. Yeah, I did see that one. I was going to say something on that whole development thing. I can't remember what it was now. Must have been very, very dull. And I think we are just such incremental little changes. A big change will be having a little packet of 6 150-gram drones with some pretty jolly good sensors in, that you open the case, open the box, because you've charged them on the way to your flight in your car with your cigarette lighter, and they each go off and do 15 minutes each, and that gives you, what would that give you, an hour and a half of flight time, and they're going completely autonomously, sort out the inspection or whatever it is, and then your only job as the commander of the aircraft is to put them back in the box and plug the cigarette lighter back in. I think we'll go that way in the commercial space. I think
it's a long way off, though, because there's going to be BV loss for a start, and there's all sorts of other at the moment you just can't do it. Regulations get in the way. You cannot do it, and this is the problem. Our regulations have put a brick wall up. They're talking about once with remote ID you'll be able to do BV loss. Why? It doesn't make it any safer. So the regulations are not there to make things safe. They're there for, I don't know what they're for, control, enable them to keep a leash on this emerging market. Why would you put regulations in that serve no safety purpose whatsoever?
I'm a bit of a firm believer in the next 5 or 10 years, there'll be enough commercial interests that say, oi, aviation authorities, on your bike, out of the way. This is changing now. There'll be enough money kicking about, or wanting to kick about, in various sectors, that all of a sudden, easy, let's get busy. All those problems will disappear, unless you're flying privately, and then you'll have all of them. But for commercial use,
that's the goal. We will all be flying beyond visual line of sight. By that, I mean we'll be flying in little grassy fields miles from anywhere no one can see us.
I can see most of it being taken out of the remit of aviation. I can see there being a big perhaps after this current world event, there needs to be a big shake-up of air traffic management and all that sort of thing. It's not fit for purpose across the board, be it from us or our little machines in the park, right the way through to the airline world. There's holes and gaps and problems all the way through the air traffic management system. Or ATNS system. It's only something that's been patched together. They don't let it fall down or start again. You can't stop it and start again and reimagine it in a better way. You just keep patching and fudging old systems, and it needs to be redone.
Will aviation ever get back to what it was? I mean, we've got the CV-19 thing. I mean, what's going to happen with that? I see there's talk in the media about the great UK experiment that could destroy the world because it'll create all these mutant strains that are immune to the virus and immune to the vaccine, that sort of thing. I mean, are we ever going to go back to the situation where you just booked a ticket, jumped on a plane and flew to the destination of your choice without all the hassles and overhead? In which case, if we can't travel freely, will the demand for drones that people often use on their holidays, will that also decline?
Well, did you see in the UK, the CAA in the UK have reminded people, oh, by the way, if you're going to Europe, you do need to take the European qualification now. You would have been all right last year, but now, and it says for people, I thought what made me laugh was, it said for people traveling from third countries. So I can imagine a lot of people in England are going to be thinking, well, we're not a third country, we're England, we're all right. You know, they mean you. They mean you. I thought that was very interesting. I'm sorry, Bruce, I forgot what you were saying, where I was going with that.
That's all right, I forgot too.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And Ian's not even paying attention, so it's
I am
all
paying
cool.
attention. I'm watching something. I was flying earlier. I was just checking the footage actually recorded. So,
Well, yeah. No, I think rules and regulations are largely go away. Integration, what's all saying, mission and flight camera pass might give another push. Yeah, I think they'll all be automated and saying about teacher in a school touch whole RC plane. I am a teacher in a school, and I don't touch the whole RC plane subject because it is such a nightmare. That's why I would, and that's even South Africa, I would quite fancy going back to peanut scale in the enormous hall, or the little Spitfires and things like Bruce has got, those little things that they've got over there.
Well, it's interesting.
Like that in the hall.
I used to go to the schools and take a little drone, take the little Mobula 6 along, and set up a screen so I could see what the camera could see, fly around the classroom, and it was all fancy and great. And everyone loved it. The kids got excited. Can't do that now, because if I want to do that sort of thing, I have to do a risk assessment to identify the potential risks to all the participants. Then I have to produce a safety plan where I show how I manage those risks. I'm just taking a toy along, showing it to some kids, but no, it has to go through all these things. You cannot do a thing in this world without first performing a risk assessment. No, I'm wrong. There's one thing you can do without performing a risk assessment. That's make new rules for drones.
Very good. Yeah, Dan's saying there should be I'm not going to say that word. Should be reciprocal arrangements between countries. Yeah, it should be. It should exactly be that. But of course, we haven't flipping set that up, have we, as a world? I
thought aviation was supposed to be an international standard because you can fly from country to country, but apparently not with RPAS.
No, you can ATPR, and those aircraft don't stay in the country very long, and there's all sorts of arrangements for that, isn't it? But it's a different matter if you're bringing your Seneca or whatever it is, or I said Seneca because one nearly took one of my trees out today, went over early, so flipping low.
Are you growing your trees over 500 feet again, Gary? That's terrible.
Well, yeah, well, we're above a dam here, so very often aircraft go below the house here. I look down on the top of aircraft, and this one decided to cut across the dam, and perhaps he didn't realize quite how high above the dam we are up here. And yeah, he ended up very, very low, right over the top of the house. So if you're watching, hello. My son reckons he could count I could see the tread on the wheels, he reckoned. But I wouldn't be surprised. They were bloody low. Yeah, but if you had that sort of airplane where I was going,
doesn't the Seneca have retracts?
No, what's the Bonanza? That's the word I'm actually thinking of. Bonanza. That's got retracts, but don't they?
They've got retractable undercarriage as well.
Yeah, but doesn't it have the
exposed tires on the bottom?
The exposed tires on the end, I think. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The thing went. No, I don't really know what it was. It was straight through. Heard it coming, and it was gone. So yeah, a hot day. Don't forget about density. Yeah, it is a hot day here in Africa today. Very, very smoky. And then the other thing they do, there's a valley over there that they quite often letterbox through, and it's often clear here and it's completely foggy on the other side. So why we haven't heard any big thuds just over there yet, I don't know. But anyway.
And a lot of thermal activity over the liquor stores as well at the moment, is there?
Lots of thermal activity. Less and less, though, because there can't be any left in the province now. So thank goodness we've got. And I must admit, I was recounting this tale to somebody, and the village where we're at is very small, about 600 people. But we do have 3 bottle stores and 2 breweries. So I'm not sure what that actually says or speaks to about this area. but on realization, yeah, we do. You can drink here. You can definitely drink here. So, right, I am waffling. What else have we seen? What else has Ian broken while we've been here?
Nothing. I haven't broke. Have I broke anything? I'm building a new quad, building a new FPV quad, getting that one done. The first bits have been done on that. And then I'm moving on to the wing next week. Yeah.
And I'm actually in build mode. I can put it all out. I thought I'd have a go at making an airboat, so I've got the autopilot and things lying around here to do that. So I'll just fun, this little lockdown.
So you've
project.
collected all the air, now you just got to build a boat around it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how it works, isn't it? That is how it works, isn't it? Something like that.
I really would love to do a boat, but for those who don't know, the reason, one of the terms mad angler, I used to be, well, I'm known as on RC groups and other places, and I used to do a massive amount of fishing, and I used to have a bait boat, and I would love to build a bait boat today, but build a proper one, because the tech is so much better now than we had back then. You got some really interesting stuff with the boat.
There's all sorts of ones on Banggood that I see, and I don't know what I'll be buying in a bait boat, but there's all sorts of cheap stuff and cheap hulls and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing here is fishing torpedoes. Like they go out past the breakers and then drop a line and come back in.
Yeah.
And Ron's built one of those, very successful.
yes.
I think he took out a buoy and bought him dinner, movie, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that had to go there, didn't it?
Later that night. No.
He experimented with iNav, not so very successfully, I might say, but it is a big thing. A lot of fishermen have got drones to take the lines out, and a lot of them are using these torpedoes.
Because our bait boats were heavily used for dropping bait, but also rigs. You put your rig in it and drop the rig as well. And like for pike fishing, it was really good because you could get half a mackerel because trying to cast half a mackerel, you'd only get 50, 60 yards, whereas you could drop half a mackerel under the trees on the other side to try and get a big pike. For carp fishing, got very, very big. I'd love to build a sub. Ardru
they
sub
use them.
is really interesting. But
on 1.7 kilohertz for the control link.
Yeah, the money
with a 7 mile antenna down the back or that sort of thing.
Well, I would love to do an Ardru sub, but I have priced just the frame, the thrusters, the tubes. It's like $2,000 plus just for the basics.
Can't just 3D print them.
It's the thrusters and stuff. They're like £400 each.
Those blue, whatever they are. Yes, they are nice, aren't they?
They are real nice.
For about a nanosecond, I thought, well, that'd be good for an airboat or putting under something or mucking about. Let's see. Everyone seems to be using them. Let's see how much. Oh, maybe not.
Just use an EDF with a really low KV motor.
On the quick subject of submarines, if you're ever in the UK and you want to find crop circles, you need to go to a pub called the Barge at Honey Street. Under the Barge in Honey Street used to be another bar. In that bar was where all the graph paper was, where the year's crop circles were. Upstairs be people out in a beer garden with crystals on maps and jumping up and down semi-naked and talking all that. And they were within feet of where the plans for the crop circles were. And the canal went by the Barge Honey Street. A load of us stood outside. We'd been flying our gliders on top of the downs at the top. And we stood out with our gear. And we just stood there looking at the water, fiddling with our controls. And when somebody finally asked us, we said, no, we're the Pusey Vale Amateur Submarine Society. And we're just docking all the submarines. Murky water, can't see a thing. We had this whole group of people believing this. But anyway,
they are down now to $209 each. But when you need 5 or 6 of them, it suddenly gets expensive, doesn't it?
Well, you just build a scale model of Stingray That'd be kind of cool.
So would
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
Would you use that for going to look for fish? What would you use it for? I don't quite understand what people use them for.
Blowing up those underwater submarines that the creepy critters have, the ones that talk like they're gargling.
I'd love to look off. Just some cliffs, there's some docks, there's some places. I'd just love to have an ROV to be able to do that.
There's a lot of those. I've had people offering to send me some for review, actually. A couple of
there's lots about at the minute, isn't there? Yeah.
And that never arrived.
No, they didn't send me one either.
They didn't send me. They messaged me and said, "Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I really would.
I'll fill the bath right now." Yeah.
But there's a couple of companies that make them off the shelf, and they're about £1,000 to £1,500. A local lad who I used to fly with now and again down here bought one, and I was quite impressed with the footage. It was like, that's quite cool.
Yeah, a mate of mine used just some pipe, some plastic tubing, and put some cheap motors in there. And I can't remember how he sunk it. It had a way of making it heavy to sink it, and it was cable controlled. But he used that for filming hippos and crocodiles.
Chasing is the name of the company. That's it. Chasing make one, as does there's two. Chasing is one of them, and they can be 2,000-3,000.
Well, that in a lot of ways, that's where the autonomous boats, autonomous submarines, autonomous rovers delivering stuff. In a lot of ways, that's where a lot of this drone market is going to end up going. I can see a lot of people making money in that sort of market, freer of regulation than
freer. Yeah, we all heard about freers. Hey, Wolf makes a very good point. What happened about the Hobby King drama and the US and the $1.8 million fine? Do you think Hobby King will survive that?
Yeah, surely.
Surely. They're not as big as they used to be.
5 million. There's Hobby King are selling $30 parts. You've got to have a lot of, 1.5 million in the bank is a lot of coin to have for a large business. We're not talking.
It's taken 4 or 5 years for that to come to market. They've popped that. They've looked around the back of all the sofas in the office, and they've just.
How much are they making on each battery? What do they sell? Batteries. What's the average selling price of a part on Hobby King? I bet it's not $30. I bet.
And what are they selling? Yeah. Are they selling anything? I mean, people now. I mean, I used to buy everything from Hobby King, but I haven't bought from them for like 4 or 5 years, and looks like a lot of the stuff they're selling is pretty old and dated. It's not current contemporary stuff. Certainly when the mini quads came out, they were never in the running for selling mini quads, and so they missed out on a lot of that. And they've got the Durafly line, but you can only sell so many foamies. I wonder how viable they are. They seem to have scaled back a lot from the peak of their operations. The other thing that I'm wondering about, the guy in New York that got the fine for flying his drone, I wonder what's happened to him. I haven't heard anything about him for a long time.
Oh, the guy that was kicking up, not the photo company before, but the guy that was then making the noise about it ain't.
He was doing live streams and flying beyond visual eyesight, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Wonder what happened to him.
I bet he's settled.
Yeah, because that's what they do, isn't it? The FCC and the FAA, they come at you and throw a huge fine at you, and then you settle for a much smaller amount and apologise, and that seems to be the way things work. It's not a case of, because they are always proposed fines. They're not actual fines when you look at the fine detail.
And Michael's absolutely bob on right that they deserve to go down, considering what they did to the hobby shops. You might almost say that they were the beginning and the end for the hobby in some ways.
I don't know, actually, because the fact that you could buy all the stuff from, what were they, for United Hobbies when they started, the fact you could buy the stuff so cheaply made the hobby boom. I mean, if it wasn't for that, we'd still be working with paying 5 times the price at a little shops in the corner of town and having to buy just whatever was in the store. I think it was just the change in the evolution of the way the markets worked. It's worked with everything. Look at Amazon. A lot of people buy almost everything from Amazon rather than the shop down the road. And I think it's just the way the world turns. Things, I have so much trouble getting buggy whips these days. They should have protected that industry. But that's the thing. And it's done more good for the hobby than bad, I think. And look at Banggood now. I mean, they are a prime source for a lot of stuff. And you just cannot get it cheaper anywhere else. So do you want to stay with I remember in the early days you paid like $1975 for a 4-channel radio control system, which in today's money is probably about $3,000. And now you can go out and buy a really top spec 16-channel radio for $100. And what would you rather have? You know, the memories of those days when you had to save for a year to buy a new glow plug motor for your model, or today when you can just crash a model and laugh about it because you go and buy another foamy down from Banggood.
I'm not quite understanding your comment there, Michael. Do you mean aero modelling as in the fine old traditions of aero modelling? I'm not quite understanding that. Perhaps you can unpack that.
Because Gary is a free flight pilot. He knows what he's talking about.
Exactly.
And,
Come
and
on,
they
aero
did
modelling.
always sell crap. Let's be fair to them. Some of it was, but to be fair to Hobby King, you could get some good stuff from them. You know, I've got a Hobby King branded power supply and Chinergy charger. I was talking to Bruce about it on the live stream, and they've been solid for 6-7 years. So it wasn't that everything was crap. I just, for me, I think the reason I stopped using them is the UK stores up their game. That's what happened. In the UK, you couldn't get a lot of this stuff in those days. So you were having to go to Hobby King. Whereas now, there are some really good Bennett 3DXR for the higher end, but for the lower end, Hobby RC and Aerial Tech, these shops have everything. There's no need to go to Hobby King because they can get it for you. So I think...
Yeah, it used to be lipos to me. You couldn't get them here. You just couldn't get them.
Yeah, but then shipping killed the Hobby King viability because, you know, that we can't get lipos shipped to us by virtually any means in New Zealand. You've got to buy them locally, or China Hobby Line through the American warehouse. They'll ship by mail under the cover, but no one else will ship to New Zealand. It makes it really, really difficult in the era of electric power. And the other thing was that the shipping options they chose were really expensive. You know, used to you could get a 500 gram package sent by DHL for $14. That was great for all your little ASCs and receivers. But if you wanted it sent by airmail, it was $38. And then when the DHL option disappeared, it meant just you're paying twice as much for the shipping as you were for the product, while Banggood were offering dollar shipping. So that sort of killed Hobby King's viability. And also the ridiculous update they made to their website, which basically crippled its utility. That was I was going to spend half a day trying to find a thing. I know it's there. How the hell do I find it? I just gave up on that as well.
It's interesting. The China are desperate to get into the African market across the board, and shipping is their sort of Trojan horse. Really, it is cheaper for me to ship stuff in from China via Banggood than to move it from Durban to Johannesburg via post. It's just cheaper and almost faster, which our post office has never. I'm trying to remember the name. One of the Chinese shipping companies gone into partnership with our post office provider now. So speaking
of post offices, we got this little brochure in the mail. Our services have changed. And they've changed their logo, New Zealand Post, and they've said this is brilliant because they've said all domestic parcels will be tracked. We know how important it is to have visibility of your parcel on its journey. From the 1st of July, all parcels sent with New Zealand Post will be tracked, giving you peace of mind and reassurance from sending right through to delivery. What they're saying is we have cancelled untracked sending, so it's going to cost you more. You can only buy tracked postage now. So all the cheaper options have disappeared, and you've got to pay extra for tracking, even if you don't want it. No.
Yes, it's a funny old thing, shipping, isn't it? It's the nemesis or crux of the whole thing in a lot of ways. Doesn't matter how cheap it all is in the basket when you're online shopping. If that all takes 90 days or that, well, that's the other thing. The Hobby King sometimes, I used to order stuff and then forget I'd ordered it, and it would arrive 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months later as a nice surprise. It shows the disparity between how much China exports and how much it imports, though, that you can't even get container space now because all the containers are sitting on wharves in the countries where they've delivered the stuff, and no one's sending any of the containers back because China doesn't really import nearly so much as it exports. So that's why all your shipping has become very slow and very expensive. Yeah, no, it's the changing world. The old fuddy duddies. No, we were modelling. We were
when I was a boy.
Strips out, out of the sheet and all that in order to make the longer ones and all that.
Just try buying dope these days. Yeah, I went down to buy some dope the other day. The man gave me some leaves. What the hell is this? I saw it. It's a little screwed up leaves. I don't know about this. That's not going to make my tissue go tight.
Right there.
No, I kind of yearn to be one of the old duffers that if you want dangerous, if you ever go to Old Warden to Shuttleworth and see the Mayfly meet where they have the big free flight release,
Troberap, whatever, that UK channel. He's got videos of the free flight day at the BMFA Nationals, and it's like, oh my god,
it's fantastic. There's just all these old codgers in their jackets, with the patches on the sleeves, and then just people shouting "duck" because this 1.5cc diesel. Wow,
nothing feels quite like a Mill 75 to the side of the head.
Exactly.
Forget your 357 Magnums.
But why do they sharpen the bullet up the spinner on the things, don't they? So, it's great. That's where I aspire. I need to get building free flight again so I can earn my wings and go in there. That nuts. Germany's Wolfsang connected via the Marco Polo Street to China. Yeah. That is amazing, isn't it? They can put stuff on and just send it to Germany. Put it on a train, send it to Germany all the way.
Is it a Hyperloop? Are they using the Hyperloop yet?
I don't know. Well, Mr. Branson is getting ready to launch his Hyperloop, isn't he? I think.
Did we
triumphant?
Actually, I did. Yeah. To be fair, it was. I'm not going to say impressive because he's 7 minutes impressive, but
the songs that bloke sang afterwards were like 4 or 5 times longer than the whole thing.
Space is a really big place. If you think it's a long way down to the shop to get the chemist shop, that's peanuts compared to space. And he just went into the very edge of it. But what I read somewhere that he gave a speech afterwards saying that it's fabulous that now people of all races, genders, ethnicities can have equal access to space. And I'm thinking, how many people living in sub-Saharan Africa can afford the $250,000?
Exactly. It's not very equal access, is it?
He was just being woke. It was his little wokey thing. You got to be woke these days. Ooh.
I didn't really
pilot there. Comment for Bruce there. I feel there is a comment for Bruce.
My 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
What do you do with the other 6 minutes 30 seconds?
Well, he sat in
this is why I don't stream live.
Yes.
He did sit in his chair for a while before getting out, which I thought was interesting. But I watched back
didn't he?
Today.
He's old. He's not like us.
And to be fair, when you see it, you sort of go, "Oh Christ, it did look like space." Do you know what I mean? It did look pretty good.
Well, hang on, I can't reach that switch, but I'll switch all the lights off. This will look quite like space in here.
It looks like space outside my window at night.
Yeah, exactly.
You were thinking, please don't let this blow up because it's not going to be a good look, is it? If it did just go, and you're just like,
Bezos was out there cutting wires like on the Magnificent Men in their flying machines.
But the real money's in launching stuff off the 747, isn't it? The commercial that launching satellites off that. This is a frivolity, really.
Interesting story. Quite a few years ago when I was working on my X-Jet engine, I got a visit from someone from SpaceX who was very interested in looking at my jet engine technology to provide that atmospheric lift to the point where they would then be launching with chemical rockets from the edge of space into space. We had some discussions on the matter. So it's, you're right. SpaceX have investigated this as well.
Getting some of the way has a lot for it. And of course, in the UK, they want to use the spaceport Cornwall and the one they're building up in Scotland as well. And because Britain's going to win everything now. Apart from
your experience with hot air balloons could come in handy in the space race. Certainly better than the ladder I've got.
Well, the whole event, having worked for him and having met him and having been there when he was when he came off the Atlantic crossing for the rescue of him, it was a very virgin event. It was very, 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 very for the camera,
like a nun on a bicycle, virgin on the ridiculous.
Yeah, was a little bit much. I mean, his speech was quite sweet, I thought. But I also noticed he took a long time to unbuckle himself when the others were floating about. Oh, now he's gone.
Yeah, they were all there moving around, floating around in the back, and Branson's sitting there in his chair, and you're like, get out, come on.
Yes. Yeah. It's an impressive old concept, though, isn't it? I mean, I'd love to have a go, of course.
It was nice to watch him not die. That was,
Well, I want to see Colin Furze build a trebuchet that'll do the same thing.
Yeah, well, it'll be that sort of a thing. When I'll tell you a story. I'll pull up a sandbag night for me. I'm in that sort of a mood. But when they did the Atlantic balloon crossing, so I was off shift. I've been on on shift in the day. Then I went off shifts, but I went into D&D because they were still coming across land where the distress and diversion. So where they're going to land, where they're going to land. And a chap and I shared a house, and he was the controller in D&D. And the son rung up, and they said, "How's Richard Branson doing? How's the son's a newspaper? And how's Branson doing? How's Branson doing?" And at the time, it was win a car a week with Heinz baked beans. He says, "Where's my fucking car?" And slung the phone down on him. So anyway, that's my. We laughed about that. Anyway, we laughed, but that was quite a thing. He was very lucky not to car fit in that one. Actually, very very lucky indeed.
Yeah,
we need to rename this live stream to anecdotes with old men. That would be far more catchy. We'd get the YouTube algorithm going with that, I tell you.
You reckon? You reckon?
Ian just needs to grow a beard and he'd fit right in.
Yeah. Well, he's so young, and he's so young. He can't yet.
Yeah, I shaved mine this week. I did have the beard, and it's gone. No, it gets to the stage. It's a bit long. I've gone back to rubbery face now. So,
and Dorovan's is right. It was especially nice considering they'd already killed one
pilot on it. It was just one of those things where you sit there and just think, if this goes bang now, that's the end of Richard Branson. And just, it's not. It could have gone horribly wrong in it.
But I think for people in the UK, apart from him also being another billionaire, it smarted a little bit in that he was begging for money for Virgin Airways last year, and off he goes up into space in a rocket. And a very unbranded, that would normally be a very UK branded experience, wouldn't it have been? But it wasn't very UK branded.
No, it was. There was. I haven't watched his press conferences, but I have noticed that the spammers and scammers are already using him instead of Elon. I don't know if you've seen this. Ads now on YouTube channels are running crypto scams, but instead of it being Elon, because it's normally Elon Musk, and they have these crypto scams where they say send 1 ETH or half an ETH.
I saw one for it.
Yeah.
It's not a scam, is it? Oh my God.
But they've moved away from it being Elon to Richard Branson. And I was quite chuckling at that he's now the authority on.
Did they used to work at a Bitcoin factory, and they've seen a way of doing it better, and they're amazed at how much their bosses have skimmed off the top? Is that how that one works? Yeah.
It's send, and it's interesting because there's one that looks really like BBC News, and there's a few that look like a couple of
I've seen that one. I've seen that one.
It's all.
Why don't I get these scam ads? I'd love to debunk them, but they don't get them here. All I get is ads for female, was it feminine hygiene products? Google's targeting is so fantastic. I must do a video one day where I look at all the female hygiene products that they keep throwing at me. I don't know why.
We have pure Chinese adverts today. They were Chinese from China for Chinese people. Chinese adverts.
I will find, because I watched the channel, because someone had set up a live stream channel, live streaming this. So let me see if I can find it in my history. Because it was called Richard Branson. It's interesting.
Live stream or something. It's Richard Branson live press conference or something. Richard Branson's.
What's it? Virgin Galactic, wasn't it?
Virgin Galactic. .btc or .info or something, isn't it? btc.com or
.info. See if there's one now, because there was one streaming continuously.
It's not too late to invest, Gary. Not too late.
No. Well, I saw it and I thought, because
here we go. I've got one now.
Go on.
I found one with it. Let me share my screen. Where is it? So there's share screen, share that one.
So do we get a cut of this now? Is that what's going to happen? Do we get money now?
Affiliate link in Ian's description.
So if you look at this, so these are the scams. So this is one now. The channel, Richard Branson drop, and it's, to participate, you just need to send 0.1 Bitcoin to 20 Bitcoin contributors' addresses, and we will immediately send you 0.2 back. It's all these Bitcoin scams, and these are usually around Elon. They normally have Elon Musk there, and this is streaming live. How long has this been streaming for? I bet it's been streaming.
So this is on YouTube.
This is on YouTube. This is streaming live now on YouTube.
Naughty old YouTube.
The platform that will shut you down for blinking wrong. You know,
Yes.
this sort of stuff goes on 24/7. Yeah.
24/7. Yeah. You know, if you say something the wrong way, if you log into your laptop, if you log into your YouTube account from your laptop whilst on holiday, just like Hardware Unboxed did, they blocked his channel. Yet they will let this continue.
Your first full European soccer event was full of Chinese ads and sponsors. Yeah. Oh, TikTok was all over the side, wasn't it? I saw that because I actually did bother to watch. I don't watch football, but I thought I'd better watch.
You get loads of these. That one's live now.
So TikTok, is that a Swiss channel?
Yeah.
You notice, Bruce, how YouTube is turned into TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and normally Elon. These things were usually Elon based. They normally had Elon talking about some crypto thing, and they're very clever to edit the wording like he's talking about the subject. They edit it in very specific ways. And but yeah, so Branson,
I know the answer to this one. Best way to use a drone in the Highest British Museum. Well, it's it's already been done, hasn't it? It's the Wallace and Gromit. You've got to get a pair of wrong trousers, and you've got to walk up the side of the building. I mean, that's the blueprints and everything. It's drones in the Highest British Museum. Next time England's been small, it's coming home. I like the flag that I saw someone else going to Rome or whatever. I thought that was a good one. That's fair play to them. They did get a little bit worked up over there about that, didn't they? That was a bit, and they were jolly unsporting, booing the other team, and then being awfully unkind to the fellows who missed the kicks. It was just generally poor.
It was a bloody mess. There were people getting the shit kicked out of them left, right, and centre. There was fighting. There was not a good.
It'd be handy if you were constipated, though. I mean, it's cheaper than going to the chemist.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was not a good look for the UK. Let's just put it that way. And you've got the WHO now coming out saying we're mad. We're releasing too soon. We had the conference yesterday. You know, we're going to go downhill very quickly, but I get why they're doing it. They made a good argument yesterday, and it makes sense. You know, the math is no matter what they do now, the outcome will be the same. So no matter from this point forward, when they release, there's always going to be a release spike. Delaying that doesn't change that spike. It just moves it in time. So the argument is do it now while the kids are off is a better option.
Yeah, but wouldn't they want to have more people fully immunised? There's only 35 million, I think, have had both jabs so far.
Today, the numbers are high. I think it's even fifth. What was the numbers today? It was, but they say with one jab, every adult has had one jab now, I think. It's a bit of a play on words because had or offered is the term.
It's very different. Yes,
I think when I looked this morning, it was 45 million had had one jab, and 35 had both or something.
But they said the outcome after that point becomes minimal. The math doesn't change. They say in the outcome on the modeling, there will still be people who, you know, they said something interesting, and it's a bit refreshing. When we release, people will die. They're not getting away from that fact. You know, they said that is going to happen. Deaths are going to increase. But delaying now doesn't seem...
Just in time for Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas. But
here's what you can get grand for Christmas.
Exactly.
Get that inheritance now.
but you know, their argument is if we don't release today, then you're releasing in the middle of winter when things are going to be even worse. Or do you lock down till next summer? Because that's the alternative at that point. And when do you release? So I do get their math. It makes some sense, but there's no question all hell's going to break loose.
Well, we've had globalism. I think it's time for isolationism.
Well, you're speaking from a country with an advantage. I mean, if only England was an island, it could have been a lot easier to sort everything out. If only it was an island.
But how smart is our government? We are one of the few countries in the world with no community cases of COVID-19. So what do? We open a travel bubble with Australia that's got a runaway outbreak in Sydney.
Well, it's not particularly run away. It's not what the rest.
No, it's growing at quite a rate. They've got hundreds of cases now. I mean,
into the hundreds.
That's an infinite amount more than we've got.
True. Yes.
What are we up to today? Was it 35,000 new cases?
It's about 35,000 when I checked this morning.
Yeah.
Maybe
new cases,
more.
35. 6,000 today.
Gee whiskers. We've dropped back down to 11 in our third wave, but of course now we've had an entire weekend of hundreds of thousands of people on the streets looting. It's no doubt going to cause a huge spike in a couple of weeks' time. So we went back on again. Let's pull up a sandbag. Online learning, because we're in our third wave, so we went back to that today, back to school. And then because of this, so that was as a teacher, the online learning was pretty hard. It's pretty hard for children. So today, while we're doing it, one of our teachers had to evacuate to run away from the farm that she was teaching from at home because the looters were getting there. So that made online learning even, more challenging for her class. So it's just like it's COVID too. You thought it was bad the first time. Try it with looting.
Looting
accompanying music. That's what you need.
Yeah.
What they're saying is, just looking at the numbers, they're saying we're 87% of adult populations had one dose and 66% have had two. So, and they just said it's a plateau point now. I think they have got a release. However, people just need to use their brains.
Use common sense.
Just because you
don't go running up and licking the back of people's heads without permission. That's all you got to do.
We never stopped the first. Where are you, Doverans?
Yeah, we're in third wave now. We're well into it.
We are. It's this Delta variant as well. That's the one that's caused.
But I do know a number of people who are COVID positive who have no symptoms now, and that seems to be the new norm now. That it's becoming that way.
Yeah,
it's all good until we get a mutation that bypasses the vaccine, and we're all back to square one again. Because we got rid of smallpox, we can do it with COVID.
It took 50 years.
We're faster now. We're fleeter on our feet. We've got more technology. We can do it really quickly. Just shoot all the COVID people.
And because we're better educated as a society, then we'll understand the implications of following the rules, and we'll realise what we must do to get the job done faster. So
I blame drone flies myself.
The footballers on the weekend? Did you not?
Well, I rest my case. I see. Well, then you see people that have the previous match were bearing it out and going mad when England did whatever they did to get through to there, and then I see people saying, "Oh no, it's amazing! All everyone that went to the pubs got it." It's like, oh really? How did that happen then? How do you imagine? What a surprise!
Drink my beer.
Yeah, no. We're definitely waffling. We are definitely waffling. We actually see the other interesting drone stories. Let me just have a little look before we go.
Do you know a good website for tracking drone stories, Gary?
No, I don't.
I just use Google News, don't you?
Yeah,
yeah. There you go.
I normally go to one of those proper news websites.
There was an interesting one that the Navy were using doing man overboard trials with their bossing great big quad that they have got. Actually, no, it's an 8. I think it's so yeah, they were trying that, and they really have been. They've been moving cargoes with that. They've been moving people. The Royal Navy's development unit are quietly doing some grown-up jobs with their gear, so that's quite interesting.
But if you notice how little news there is, it shows how mature the market's become, or how it's all leveled out, and we're just going to cruise along at a fairly constant speed from this point forward.
Yeah. Have we eradicated the cold influenza? Other COVIDs. Why didn't I get rid of this one? Because Bruce said so, Michael.
Yeah, reasons. That's why. Reason. That's it. Reasons. Just like the government's.
Reasons. We could.
The reality is, life has got to get back to normal, but people just have to need to be careful. I got no issues with the government releasing the rules. You don't have to go out. There's no gun to your head to go to that pub or that restaurant. I know for me, I will be taking it very, very easy for the next 2 years. I'm not going to hide though. It's going to be. I don't want to really be in rooms full of people I don't know. It'll just be take it easy, look after yourselves, and stay safe.
Don't die. Good advice. Don't die.
Don't die. Yes.
Try not to die. Yeah.
Yes. Why large quads instead of helicopters? I guess because it can probably, just a pure guess, it can probably keep one on the deck at all times, most weathers.
Fewer moving parts, easier maintenance.
Moving parts, bloke goes over, you're not pulling it out of the hangar, spinning it up, you're hitting a button and going. It would be, it's speed. I guess just start-up time would be instantaneous.
You can dive buildings on your days off. All those reasons.
You dive puddings on your day off, yeah. But they're big machines. They are big old machines. Let's put that up in this here window here. I can't remember what they're called, but it's a big old thing. Our lifestyle self-isolation. It's talking about Australia and the likes. Window, that one there. Here it comes. It's this thing. It's quite a big thing. So yeah, that'll do the job. I wonder if that's
X8.
Like, not. Yes, I suppose it is, isn't it? But I know they've moved quite a bit of cargo and quite a bit of stuff. They are flying at Minerva T20. There we are. That's what that thing is. I know they are using that quite a lot. Right, and on that, what about vaccination? Kids and pupils here, 12 years, no chance. Here, yeah, well, they just stopped. My wife would have become eligible this week, but with the current troubles, everything stopped. I got the J&J last week. Children and the general trouble is, it's the rest of the world are hoarding all the flipping vaccines. We can't
my first Pfizer tomorrow. But they only have, we have 3 weeks between doses here. I mean, what's the point?
Oh, I'm double
2 days, I think.
I'm done.
I'm
doubled. I'm doubled. I had mine at 9 weeks. My second. So yeah, I'm done and dusted. A lot of people are, over here. To be fair, the rollout over here has been bloody good. There's no question. You could walk.
Gosh, it's almost like you've got some sort of nationalised healthcare system in which when everyone's registered, and then it made it very easy to find you all.
Yeah, it's funny that. Imagine,
yeah.
It's a dog's breakfast here. They sent me a text saying you should register for your thing. So I rang the number 3 times and got cut off 3 times. Tried a 4th time, got through. And I live in a town of about 15,000 people. But to get my dose, I have to travel to a small community 30 minutes away, which has like 200 people population. There is no facility here to give me the jab. I've got to go to this little rural settlement to get my jab half an hour away. What are they doing?
Yeah, ours was okay once we were on the system because I got in as a teacher, so teachers jumped the queue, went nurses, teachers, and it's just gone police staff, and then in that time it was over 60s, over 50s, now it's over 35s, but we jumped.
Do the looters get priority? Do they get a special queue?
Yeah, they get whatever they want whenever they want. Yeah, you must just if you don't believe, just go online and search for looting in South Africa, and you'll see some pretty special stuff now. It's, like the guy on live on. So when the president did this is all really, really jolly, very serious, and we must all buck our ideas up and move together as one, etc., etc. In the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, they had a live broadcast from a shopping mall with people looting. So he was saying all these words, big TVs were going in the corner of the screen past him. It's just absolute nonsense. Absolutely.
There is something about looting which is entertaining to watch, and I want to be clear that I don't condone it, and it's horrible for the companies, but there is something about when you see some looting, because you go in, when you watch the American thing and the horrible, the guys who got in, and then you had the guy walk back in the background with the pedestal on his shoulder.
Yeah,
and he just saw, and someone made a Lego set of those guys.
Yes,
which was just fantastic. But you just sort of see someone back with a big pedestal on his shoulder, and you're just like, you taking that with you? Okay, fair enough.
They take big screen TVs, but I bet you they forget the remotes. And you see guys with boxes of women's shoes, and I'm thinking, okay, gender fluid. But I mean, there's just like they grab anything and run off with it, even if it's.
And there's no buttons on these new tellies, so they'll be able to do nothing at all. They'll be sitting there going, how do we even use this?
Yeah, well, our friend in the villages, our friend's hardware store was completely trashed, and the sort of settlement where there may have been some drone flying over the area. There may or may not have been. And if you did that flight, you may be able to instantly see who's got a brand new roofs. instantly within the matter of hours. It's not been great. Lots of shots fired. Lots of people have died now. I think more than 100 people have died. 17 people died in a stampede, and I shouldn't laugh. Into one of the shops in a stampede, just died.
So COVID's the least of your problems.
No, I think it's going to make a comeback for Christmas.
Okay.
That's Endo's time.
Bruce's top tip of tonight is when you are looting, don't forget the remote controller for the TV.
Remote control. And if you do forget, some I looted previously, you can come and get.
Bruce's looting tips.
Well, it's all the smartphones they nick. I mean, they've obviously all got an IMEI number in them. And
That's a complete waste of time.
You're not
Go for the stuff that's not secure. White goods and the TVs and brown goods. That's
the fridges and cookers and all that you see, and people have been hiring cars to go loot big warehouse. A friend of mine, again, I'm ranting on. A friend of mine, for 5 years, he's done an aerial survey of a particular mass storage depot. What do you call a big distribution hub? That was been built, the biggest one that's been built in the province. For 5 years, my mate every Thursday has gone and flown it. He's bought a house on the back of that project. It's gone. 5 years. It's just completed. It's gone. So I guess he's got another 5 years for the rebuild now.
When you see him stealing a fridge on his side, you're thinking, "Oh, that'll never work." The oil's moved in that now. That'll. I hope he leaves that stand for 24 hours before turning that on.
Well, I hope there's somewhere where there's electricity. Would be the other thing. We have all these electricity problems, as they're saying. We have the stages of load shedding. They're saying we got to get ready for a new stage when everyone switches on all this new gear.
All these fridges. It's amazing how poverty-stricken part of South Africa suddenly has moved forward.
50-inch TVs, multiple,
Huge demand for Netflix subscriptions all overnight.
It's
absolutely.
The wine fridge that pushed it over the edge. That was the issue.
Well, the irony is that our chief of police was on Durban seafront in the first lockdown when the 70,000 troops were put on the things, and there were women with their children on the beach, and they were rounding them up at gunpoint and getting them off the beach, and all this. And our chief of police was, look, we're policing anti-COVID, blah 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 blah. And now there's 2,500 troops in the whole country with people looting stuff like Billio. So not good for tourism, not good for it's good for anyone that earns dollars, because of course the rands crash, so thanks, but it's not good. It's not good. Anyway, I am ranting on. I am definitely ranting on. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, going once, going twice, can we think of anything else? Dear viewers, have a look at South Africa on YouTube. Give yourself a giggle. Watch the big screen TVs walking away. If you are in South Africa, I hope you are safe and secure wherever you are. And just be careful out there. And otherwise, see you all again, 2100 GMT next week. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Cheers, lads. Bye-bye. Look, got to switch it off. It's up here.